So, a very good morning to all of you. And as I said in my previous lecture, today we were about to start with something very interesting, something applicable to our life, something that makes so much sense. Okay, and as mentioned in my previous lecture, today we were about to start with Darwin's theory. Okay, and we were going to discuss Darwin's theory in detail. However, because of certain changes that we have to implement this year, we will not be studying Darwin's theory. Okay? And I will let you know what these changes are to you very soon. So I want all of you to refer to your textbook in the first place. So please come to page number 94 of your textbook. This is a 5-minute briefing session and then we continue with the syllabus. Now, when we start with the discussion, if anybody has a query, kindly unmute yourself and you may ask your query, but only one person at a time. Okay? That clear with you? Okay. Now, see, in our previous lectures, we have completed the origin of life concept and the different theories that have been put forth by various scientists. This is what we have studied. Then we went on to discuss chemical evolution of life. And then we did Urey and Miller's experiment. Correct? After that, we did RNA world hypothesis. Now, the next thing that today we would do is organic evolution, Darwinism, and his theories of survival of the fittest. But there is a change now. According to the latest update that we have got, a major part of this origin and evolution has been deleted. I can only imagine your expressions. And so far, whatever we have done is not there in the syllabus. And this update we have received 1 or 2 days back. I could have messaged you also and informed you, but let me just tell you something. Please let there be no chaos. Okay? I repeat, please let there be no chaos. Whatever instructions have been given by the government, we are following the same guidelines, and because of which we do not have to include this. So I will be putting this on the group, but I thought let me just share it with you before we start with the next part. So whatever we have done so far is not there in the syllabus. Only if we knew this. If you want, you may type your comments in the chat box. I'm going to read them. I'll give you 60 seconds for this to type your comments. I can only understand and relate to your disappointment. So, now let me tell you which are the things that are included. So, 5.1 is not there, so it is excluded. 5.2 chemical evolution of life, not there. 5.3 organic evolution, not there. 5.4, Darwinism and his concepts, not there. 5.5, mutation theory, not there. 5.6, which is modern synthetic theory of evolution, is very much there. So in this chapter, the only thing that we are doing is modern synthetic theory A, and B part I will let you know soon. Apart from that, 5.7 not there, 5.8,
Ma'am, your voice
Hardy-Weinberg's
is
principle, 5.8 not there, adaptive radiation, which is 5.9 not there, 5.10, evidences of organic evolution not there, 5.11, speciation not there, 5.12, geological time scale not there, 5.13,
excuse me, ma'am.
human evolution very much there. Yes, Humaira, please go on.
Ma'am, we cannot hear you. Your voice is cracking a lot.
Oh, my voice is cracking. Okay, but I can see your full internet coverage, dear. This is one part where we cannot do anything, students. So I request you all that I will carry on with the lecture because this is one part that I cannot change. However, I have a recording of the lecture. I will forward this recording to you all. Okay? Is that okay with you? Just mention in the comment box. Simultaneously, I'm also putting the comments. So, I am recording the lecture and I am also going to forward it a little later. Okay? All right. So now there are only two concepts that we have to study in this chapter. One, which is modern synthetic theory, and two, which is evolution of man towards the end, that is 5.13. So 5.6 and 5.13 are included. Apart from that, everything else is deleted in this chapter. And obvious reasons. The reasons are very clear. It is for your convenience because right now you're sitting at home, you're not functioning the normal way. So, henceforth, we will continue with our lectures, but what we are going to do is we will refer to what is required to be completed. We will only restrict ourselves to what is there for the exam, the final exam. So clear guidelines have been given after discussing it with the other teachers in the biology department. I will forward you the data that has been given to us and accordingly you will start your studies. Is that clear? I'm happy that so far we have not done any assignments except for just online 2-3 sessions of 5 minutes each. But now onwards, because we have a clear outline, we will be following the protocol. We will be doing regular assignments and tests will be conducted. Okay, I hope I'm clear in what I am saying. All right. On that note, let's start with the last part. I had to give these instructions and it would take a lot of time. So today what I am doing is a very simple topic which I guess is very basic and it concludes the chapter. So whatever I am doing today is very general. Okay, let that sink in. The next time that we meet, we will start with something very substantial and very concrete, which is the modern synthetic theory. By that time, you must have also come out of this chemical theory of evolution. Because right now, all over the place, I can see is the chemical theory of evolution. Am I right, girls? So the next time, all this chemical theory of evolution that we have done so far is not going to be included in your syllabus for this year. This is really sad. And we got these guidelines just 2 3 days back, and they were not very clear. So we had started with our part. However, the modern synthetic theory will be much easier and simpler because we have a little bit of reference of chemical theory. So that way, it is definitely going to help you. Okay. Now, so much of time I have invested so that there is clarity, so that there is no question. In spite of that, if you have any questions or queries or doubts in your minds, please feel free to message on the group. All right. Okay. On that note, let us today start with something very different, diverse from what we have done so far. Page number 113, the human evolution. We will start today with human evolution. We're just doing the basic part considering the time criteria that we have. Okay, so now let me share this with you first. Is each one of you able to see the slide, girls?
Yes, ma'am, we can see the
Okay,
slide.
yes. Please mute yourself, all of you. All right. Now, this is a very, very basic concept, girls, about human evolution. Let me just brief you. As much as there is chaos in your head right now, there is a certain amount of uncertainty in my mind too. That, oh my God, I had planned this chapter in the most updated way that I could. And there was so much to give and such amazing theories, especially my Darwin has been pushed out of the room, and I am not liking this. However, if I have to conclude this without going through all of what was included in the chapter, is kind of a bit confusing. It could be a bit confusing to how to study human evolution without actually studying evolution. But what do? This is what we have to study, so we have to do it. Okay, keep that thing in your mind clear. Talking about human evolution, let us just try to generalize a bit about the various kinds of creatures that you see. When we have been talking so much about evolutionary theories, what was our prime concern was that evolution has taken place in such a diverse form. Correct? Yes. Now, what I mean by this is that where we started from as a single cell, RNA world hypothesis, chemical theory of evolution, at least I can mention this and you know what I'm talking about. Had we not done it, it would have been impossible to, kind of relate to what we are doing right now. So we have done all of this and we know the journey now of Earth because of the videos that we have seen. Now we are talking about the current scenario of how today we are, how we apply our mind, our brain, our body that we use to carry out various physical activities. All of this is very diverse, very different from where we started. Do you agree with what I'm saying? Yes? Please don't unmute yourselves, but just kind of try to visualize all that we have gone through in the past few lectures. And based on that, we are going to start with human evolution. Each one of you must have solved some puzzles in your life, some activity which is related to the brain, some problem solving which is happening time and again, periodically. Anything that you have to do, your brain takes it as a challenge, your brain takes it as a problem and tries to solve it. So, this puzzle solving, this problem solving ability of your brain is because of the capacity of your brain. Your brain has unique ability to function, and that is because it is one of the most, rather the most advanced brains that you have on this globe. Can any one of you just try to understand and revert back to me, reply to me in the comment box? What could be the capacity of a human brain? This is the biggest question that scientists have been facing for generations, and a question that can never be answered until and unless each time, like how we upgrade the versions for our phone software, we are keeping on upgrading the capacity of this cranium, which is the cranial capacity. The capacity of the brain is upgraded each time because of the various feats that have been made possible by man. Clear? Yes? So the big question now comes is, were we always the same that we are today? The answer is no. Each and every day of your life, you are evolving. You are changing. You are modifying. You are adapting. So, why and how did we evolve along these lines to reach the most advanced brain stage? The stage where our brain is highly advanced in comparison to all organisms that are found on this earth? The answers are very simple. We have evolved, we have derived what we have because we have changed from the pre existing forms, like how we have studied in our previous lectures. So, what are these pre existing forms? We are very much similar to our close relatives, which are the chimpanzees and the monkeys. So when somebody says that why are you acting like a monkey, which I'm sure at some point of time you have come across this comment. The only reason for this is because we are related to them. A part of our DNA is exactly identical to theirs. And that's the reason sometimes we might have shown some genetic traits which are similar to them. And what is it that is similar to them? Let us try to understand. Human evolution talks about man being evolved from a tree dwelling shrew like an animal that was arboreal in nature, an animal that lived on the trees. And somewhere this animal kept on changing itself, kept on modifying itself. And because of this modification, what exactly happened was there were changes, there was evolution. And this evolution led to the modern day man, the man that you see around you, the humans that you see around you. The man here means the man and the woman, the gender together. Now, here we are going to come with a very important word, the Paleocene epoch. All of these changes are believed somewhere to start within the Paleocene epoch, a period, a transition stage, that space where the actual change of this animal living on the trees started to modify itself, change itself, started its evolution journey. Of course, the the forests kept on changing all the time. And because of this dwindling forests disappearing periodically, some mammals which were persistently living on the trees, having arboreal habitat restricted to trees from one trees to other, started to adapt to life on land. They somewhere felt that yes, there is a possibility that we could also explore the terrestrial area, the land area, and life could also be free and much easier on the land. And that is the reason, that is the driving force for our descent somewhere from the trees to the land. There used to be times when people had bigger spaces, people had bigger areas where they could live in. But today, that is being shrunk because of population explosion. This is also an example that you can relate to. It is believed that most closely we are related to gibbons, chimpanzees, and gorillas because their genetic makeup is something similar to ours. Of course, we have our variations, our differences, that is there, definitely. And in what way are we similar to them? It is believed that about 2.5% of the DNA that we have is different from the DNA of a chimpanzee. So, we are almost identical to a chimpanzee genetic setup, except for the 2.5% DNA which we have, which is our own unique identity. So, may I conclude that this 2.5% DNA that we have of our own in variation to the chimpanzee DNA makes us or gives us our own identity. So, this identity that I have, which is making me different, bringing about variation, bringing about changes in the DNA, is because of just that 2.5%. This 2.5% DNA makes me man and that individual a chimpanzee. Just imagine the ability that this 2.5% DNA has within itself. Next, monkey and man differs only in 10% of the DNA. So we are structurally so much different, but genetically only 10% of the DNA that we have is different from that of monkeys. And because of these differences, today we have evolved as humans. Man has evolved due to acquisition of a special character, and these characters are a gift of that difference of DNA. We have evolved, we have traveled a long line of evolution. That's the reason today we can cage a monkey and use it to carry out various experiments or clinical trials. Whatever vaccines today that we are working upon, first go in the line of testing for animals, then a clinical set of humans, and then it is given to the market. So this line of evolution, that today we are free, I can raise a voice, I can talk in a language that can be understood by others of my species, which has brought about the communication to an altogether different level, is because of this genetic setup that I have. And what are the major changes in man? In what ways is man so different from all the other creatures on this earth? What makes man unique? Obviously, the unique set of characters that this man has makes it different from others. Let's start from the brain. The increase or expanded or expansion in the cranial capacity of a man. Time and again, if you refer to the chart on page number 114, which we shall be discussing soon, you will be able to see in the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth row that it talks about the cranial capacity, how the cranial capacity of man has evolved in different eras, evolved in different kind of species in the form of fossil setups that you have found so far. And you see that the cranial capacity of man today is maximum. So this increase in size, which led to the complexity of brain, is a major change for man to be what it is today. This complexity's result was that man had enhanced, amplified, magnified intelligence, and this intelligence would have never gone wasted. Some form or the other, man has been using this intelligence to the best of its ability. This intelligence was a gift of increase in cranial capacity. Next, apart from the brain component, let's talk about how man has also evolved one of its own forms, bipedal locomotion. We are walking on 2 feet, so the other two forelimbs are free to do what you want to, thereby adding wings to our safety, our locomotion, and our functionality. The whole aspect of our being and our functioning has changed because of bipedal locomotion. Another unique feature that man has is opposable thumb in comparison to all the other species. To relate to these species, I would like you all to refer to page number 114 of your textbook. See how progressively that monkey has evolved today to be man. So this change from M to M has been occupied with intermediate steps, in between steps, and the latest output being opposable thumb. This opposable thumb has helped us to be more skilled. We can use it, and as you know, in today's times, for so many things. Apart from the maximum usage being use of Android phones for messaging and other things. This thumb has helped us in a lot many ways. Erect posture. If you see, the posture that man holds today is progressively changed. If you try to study the different fossils, which was a part of this syllabus and now is not apart from the 114 page, you will see that the fossils of the man that have been found on earth have been very much different in comparison to the structural makeup of man today. So the posture of man is erect and shortening of limbs. The forelimbs and hind limbs are structurally made so that bipedal locomotion is enhanced. The ratio of comparison between the forelimbs and hind limbs has changed over a period of years. Lengthening of hind limbs. So as much as there is a word missing, girls, here, shortening of forelimbs and lengthening of hind limbs. So as much as the hind limbs have lengthened, the forelimbs have become shorter. And you see facial features have also evolved. Prominent development of chin is a characteristic feature of man in comparison to all the other descendants that follow that man has left behind. Man is the one to have a prominent chin developed. Broadening of pelvic girdle to give a definite structure to man is seen in today's times. Today's means the most evolved times. Development of S-shaped spine, the lumbar curvature, which means the spine of man is such that it is not straight. It is S-shaped spine for better movement. And lastly, let's talk about social and cultural development that is beyond comprehension. The way we have developed socially and culturally from the man that used to live in the cave is very much different to what it is today. Speech, development, usage of tools, and the cultural setup in which today we live is very much different. All of this is happened because of the cranial capacity that has increased over a period of time. And how did this change happen? Because of the increase in cranial capacity, the skull of the man also changed. That is, large size of frontal lobe of the brain developed. Because the frontal lobe of the brain started evolving, started increasing, the high forehead developed in man, which is a prominent characteristic feature of man in comparison to all the other descendants that he's left behind. This led to increased intelligence. Because of the intelligence, it provoked, it necessitated the development of the body and the brain, which could be used in coordination. If I have intelligence, which is very, very normal characteristic in man, I'm going to use it in some form or the other, not maybe in the desired form, not maybe to make others happy, but what I have, I will definitely use it for my development. Says man. So, in coordination to the intelligence that was sitting within man, it started the development of the body and the brain for using it effectively and productively to give better results. We could use our forelimbs because we had the freedom to use them as we were bipedal in nature. We could use this as they were free from any locomotory function. Thumb could be used now for better utilizations of hands, for holding objects, skill based development of motor skills. All of this helped us to evolve bipedal locomotion, right posture, stereoscopic vision, made hunting so much easier, made protecting our own species much easier, made invasion into any territory much simpler and effective, and made ruling or conquering a setup possible because of all of these activities that were happening time and again. So man started evolving because of this. This helped man to move around safely. Evolutionary history of man was traced because of fossils. There is a big branch of study which is paleontology. Paleontology is study of fossils. And today we cannot talk about the existing conditions without studying the fossils. In the previous syllabus, the syllabus has changed this year. We had paleontology which talked about fossils even in this syllabus, but now it is not included because of deletion of a part of your syllabus to make it a bit simple for you. We were talking about various fossils and how these fossils say that the line of evolution has occurred. So, today we can talk about the evolution of man because of various fossils that are seen, which is helping us to understand man in a better way. And this table that is on page number 114 is where we will see how this man has evolved. It will require more of time, but before we start with the table and the details, we shall just have a look at something interesting that will help you all to understand man. Just give me a second for this. We will also talk about shape of the skull of man, how it changed, dentition arrangement of the teeth, because now man has started eating all sorts of things from ancestral humans till date, how our history has changed. All of this we shall study as our journey of evolution continues. Now I'm going to share something with you. Which will give you an idea about what is happening. Okay. Okay, girls, I would want one of y'all to just let me know. Are y'all able to see the screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Are y'all able to hear the video?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am, we cannot see the front video.
Okay. Just give me a second. Just give me a second. One second, huh? Okay, now this is going to happen. Mm. Are you all able to hear now?
No, ma'am.
No?
Ma'am, the video has not started yet.
No? Are you all able to see the video?
No, ma'am.
No?
No, ma'am.
This happens every time. Okay, let me just check it one more time. But here it is showing share. Now I don't know what happened. Now,
Yes. Cannot hear it. Ma'am, we cannot hear it. Ma'am, the video is not audible.
I think it's some network thing. One second, beta. Doesn't show.
Their muzzle
Are you all
and
able to
canine
hear?
teeth suggests non-aggressiveness. One of the major
Ma'am,
features
now we are able to hear, but the video is not on.
Okay, wait.
for millions of years have lived on its surface. For in the evolutionary struggle,
Do you see the globe on screen?
No, ma'am.
Oh my God.
we are the only ones who have obtained the advantage.
You are able to hear the video, but
Yes, ma'am,
Ma'am,
we
what
can
do you
hear the audio, but we cannot see the video.
this is important.
Of reason. Reaching it was far from easy. Its origin dates
Give me a second. Wait, let me try one more time, one last time. Otherwise, we'll just leave it idle.
Ma'am, do one thing, no, send the link in the chat box and we'll see now.
No, but I have to discuss it. No. One second. Just give me a second, Bachas. Okay, 1 minute. Let me try.
skull was primitive.
Are you all able to see?
Small and rather simple. Yet the comparatively small
No,
size of the
ma'am.
muzzle and canine teeth suggests non-aggressiveness, one of the major features that led to reason. But 10 million planet has been floating in was among them. But they affected only our gained the advantage of reason. Reaching it was far from easy. Its origin dates back 20 million years to those fruit-eating creatures.
You are not able to see the video.
No, ma'am, but
No,
we
ma'am.
can hear the audio.
No, but you have to see it. Even if the audio is not there, that's okay. This is a very nice video, which will make sense. We need to sort out this issue every time this happens. Maybe the network is slow or something. I am losing my patience, so I can only imagine how it must be for you. Okay. Let me try. 1 second. Are you all able to see now? Just let me know.
No, ma'am.
No?
No, ma'am.
Okay, fine. Just a second. Let me try this last, my last resort. And I think it should work. Just give me a second. Are you all able to see the slide now?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, 1 second. Now just tell me. Now are you all able to see the video?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
Are you all able to hear the sound?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
Wait. Now?
For millions
ma'am.
of years, our planet has been
Perfect.
floating in
Yes,
space. Millions of creatures have lived on its surface. Many a quaint being was among them, but they affected only our human imagination. For in the evolutionary struggle, we are the only ones who have obtained the advantage of reason. Reaching it was far from easy. Its origin dates back 20 million years to those fruit-eating creatures that lived in African trees called proconsuls. They romped about in trees, far above terrestrial dangers, feeding on fruit and leaves. Depending on the species, they varied in size from the marmoset to the gorilla. They hardly cared about the world below. Proconsuls climbed about the branches on all fours and almost exactly resembled the modern-day macaque. Their upper and lower limbs were the same size. They moved leaning on open palms instead of bended fingers. Quite a few fossils of proconsuls have been found in East Africa. The skull was primitive, the brain small and rather simple, yet the comparatively small size of their muzzle and canine teeth
See how different the cranium for this creature is in comparison to the today's man which walks on this earth.
suggests non-aggressiveness, one of the major features that led to reason. But 10 million years ago, a drop in temperature made the African jungles sparse, which rendered it impossible to move from tree to tree via branches. Forced to leave the trees, the descendant of proconsul, Ardipithecus, began moving on their rear limbs. Their feet were still prehensile, but with special arches that allowed bipedalism. The nearly complete skeleton of an Ardipithecus named Ardi proves that these creatures were able to walk, albeit not as easily as we do. The arms of Ardipithecus were knee-length, and the hands were half human and half ape-like. The first steps were taken to climb the next tree. Ardipithecus didn't want to leave tree crowns, their habitual homes. They were indeed the intermediate between humans and apes, as all of Ardi's features mediate entirely ape-like and entirely human features. But life moved on. Trees became sparse, and Africa turned into a boundless savanna. 4 million sparse, and Africa turned into a boundless savanna. 4 million years ago, new creatures paced in the savanna. Gracile australopiths. They were well adjusted to their new home. Their way of walking on two legs was not so different from ours. They gathered and ate everything, and were able to walk miles on end. They formed cohesive groups, which allowed them to repel any danger. Moreover, they were curious. Their skull was still ape-like, with an obtrusive muzzle and receding forehead. At first glance, it is hard to detect our features, but the head was held on the upright neck, the canine teeth got smaller, and the brain bigger. 3 million years ago, Australopithecus afarensis of East Africa evolved into the first humans. 2.5 million years ago, our ancestors crossed the Rubicon of brain size, 700 grams. The first representative of our genus, Homo habilis, handyman. He got his name for a reason. It was Homo habilis who was the first to make stone tools. These primitive choppers made from pebble with a few blows were still real tools for carving meat, whittling wood, defending from predators, and killing prey. Man was now armed. Life in the trees was left for good, and the savanna promoted forward movement. Perhaps our love for travel and exploration dates back to those times. The world was perilous, but intelligence made it possible to overcome difficulties. It was not power or aggression, but intelligence that protected the first humans. The skull of Homo habilis is very much like that of Australopithecus, yet the brain size was 600 to 800 grams now, 1.5 times as much as its predecessors. The face became smaller. Around 1.5 million years ago, a new species appeared, Homo ergaster, working man. They became the terror of the African savanna. Spears and stone tools were an unprecedented phenomenon. Even the fiercest animals weren't safe from harm now. Man became a hunter. Skeletons of antelopes and even elephants surrounded by stone tools have been found in East Africa. Cut marks on animal bones are visible evidence of a new stage of our evolution. Possibly, this is around the same time humans first discovered fire, albeit the evidence of that is rare and unreliable. Quite a few fossils of the first humans have remained in East Africa. The ape-like legacy in the skull was now in the past, but their jaws were still large and their brains twice as small as ours. Their height and build were exactly like that of modern humans. Their bodies, except for their heads, were hardly any different from ours. They settled all over Africa and were the first to move beyond. The last step was to colonize the planet, so they took that step, and the vast expanses of the planet were conquered by new masters. Not right away, though. The planet didn't give man a hearty welcome. Nature should not be underestimated. At all times, life was no bed of roses. Human remains with marks of predators' teeth bear witness to that. Yet it was hardship that engendered and fostered reason. Homo heidelbergensis were the first prehistoric humans whose brain size was equal to what we have now. Although their faces were still savage, their eyes shone with the renewed light of reason. They built shelters, buried their dead, and created the first objects of art, crude as they were. Man has gone through a long and difficult path of evolution. What does the future have in store? Reason makes us responsible for ourselves. Now, everything depends on us.
I think this video gives us a clear idea as to how evolution must have taken place. I'll be putting up this lecture. Please go through this video because we will be discussing the details of the same in my next lecture, and then we will continue with the modern synthetic theory, and then the chapter will be completed because only 2 subunits are there in this chapter. We'll start then with something new. But before that, whatever you saw today will be discussed in the next lecture. Also, today we have found out a way of overcoming this obstacle where the videos don't work in a particular setup. That issue is also solved. So next time, let's hope for more effective lectures. On that note, let me say we have kept everything very simple today. We have just discussed the evolution of man in today's lecture and also the chart which is given on page number 114 of your textbook. Please go through this chart, try to read it in parts. MCQs or one-line answers could be asked on the same page, based on the same page, okay? Any queries, please feel free to write in the chat box. I'll give you 3 minutes for this and then we wind up the lecture. Any question or queries?
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes, beta. Who's this?
Humaira here.
Yes, Umaira, tell me.
Ma'am, here they have talked about the head, the skull, the brain. What about the body figure, the bone, and what about the hairs on the body? Like they have also evolved. So we are not discussing or we are not studying about that now.
I'll tell you something. Hey, 1 second. Just give me a second. It is not only the body. There is a whole uh, bigger, huger spectrum, which is in terms of their social setup, their cultural setup, their the way they functioned, the way they lived, their brain capacity, and the functional part of their brain. There is a lot. But what we are trying to do is we are trying to restrict ourselves to the textual content. आपके जो टेक्स्ट बुक में है हम उतना ही कर रहे हैं. Clear? So there is a lot more to this. If you have inclination or interest to know more, there is a lot. I can forward the links to you. I can forward my notes to you. That is okay. But now when we are starting with something, let us restrict ourselves to the textual content. What do you say?
Okay, got it. Understood.
Okay. Yeah. Any other question? Any other query? I would like to know a feedback from you about the change in the syllabus content. Okay, so a lot of it has been deleted. Has Zaida ma'am or Vijay ma'am given you any details for the same?
No, ma'am.
Not so far. No. Okay, okay. We'll be doing it very shortly. We will let you know about the same. Okay. Let me stop with the recording first.